All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to Table Talk, where we talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, the Bella Gamer, with my co-host Glue Boy,
Hello.
and we're back. Sorry for missing last week. Suddenly, it was my mother's birthday, so I was out celebrating that. But that's just how it goes. And there was no uh, live play this week, and that's because we started playing a new game. If you can't decide by the title. We have a bunch of people who are going to be missing over the course of the next month or so. So we decided to take a little break from Anima to try a new system, and it's doing things to me. It's doing some things to me, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Before we get to that, Alex, what have you been up to?
Well, I made a video and I am a little it's one of those bits where you're both like surprised and a little unsurprised that it's doing well. Cause
Yeah,
like I made a video that is largely engagement bait. Cause the entire gimmick is like, what if you got isekai'd into World of Darkness? And that incentivizes people to be like, well, what would I do if I popped up in World of Darkness? And it's been fun. It's been fun reading people's theories. The whole video is like, what is the thing you can do to be the like statistically the safest? Um, and it's got some fun feedback, fun like ideas. Uh, and it's that thing where I need to make videos right now that are possibly going to carry itself for a while, since I'm gonna make one other video before I go on vacation. And I want it to carry while I'm gone because I'm not going to work on any video stuff while I'm in Ireland. So I need people to be fiending for like learning all they can about werewolf and everything else.
yeah. Congrats on hitting over 20K subs, by the way. Just saw that.
Yeah, pretty fun. Like the only bit is I wish World of Darkness stuff like I just need to get to the point where I can upload it and like it gets faster stuff because it's in such a niche hobby thing. The metrics of like your subscriber base, like a big percentage of that should be on every single video, isn't hitting. But I think that's because of it is a niche subject.
Yeah.
I'd like them to do better faster, but like, what can you do? The only thing is just if I keep going, keep growing, then eventually, if I get to the same name as people when there's being like, oh, you want to get into WoD? You should go watch Burger Krieg. I want to get in the same name as that.
Right. Yeah, the dream. Be the go-to.
I see every once in a while like, just because I do at least I'm sub to like some of the subreddits for World of Darkness stuff, so I do occasionally see people bring me up, but like yeah, if I it that's the benefit of like certain RPG topics is I think they're just kind of perpetual like engines for like views. They'll just keep growing and growing and growing because people are always trying to get into it.
That's like my Lancer content. There's not a lot of people who look up Lancer stuff, but like I get comments and stuff on those videos all the time.
People love Lancer for good reason.
Yeah.
Like they need someone to be like, all right, here's just a really easy overview of like what your shit's gonna be.
And funny enough though, right? For some systems though, you just can't be that person because there's nothing to do. Like Legend
True.
in the Mists.
Yeah, like that's not a content game like at all. Like I don't know what you could make of like, hey, here's a build guide for Legend of the Mist.
Yeah, here's a build guide. And then you just tell someone exactly the character to play. That's so... I mean, to be fair, that's kind of what you do in other TTRPGs, but it means something so differently in Legend in the Mists.
Yeah, it's like it literally is like, all right, well, here's the OC I came up with.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen to me talk about my cool OC. Do not steal.
Granted, right? There's people out there who love building like anime characters in TTRPGs and putting those builds out there. So, I guess it's not too far off from that technically.
Like the most I can see like working with Legend of the Mist is like, hey, if you have this character concept, like here are tags that might help you. Or if you're like, I want to play as this guy, I want to play as I don't know, Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen. What tags would he have? Like, that's the only thing I can see.
Yeah. It's really interesting, and I mean, like, I don't know. Sometimes, if even if you are that person, like, it can only really get you so far. The Pathfinder 2E scene has just disappeared. It's crazy. There's just even the people who are relatively big in the area of Pathfinder 2E stuff, like, either one, they're just not doing a lot of content, which is normal, but two, even if they are doing content, like, it just wasn't performing super well. So
Yeah, because I don't know. It's a really interesting one because I think Pathfinder is a game that does well for like lots of coverage. Like it would make
yeah,
sense that a lot of people are covering it because that's something that has a lot of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Just seeing it kind of fall away and be, it still is popular. I just think it's not as big in like YouTube stuff. That maybe people just got tired of like just following it on YouTube.
honestly, it might be Paizo's overly formulaic design, because once you watch, like, read enough stuff about classes in Pathfinder, like, you just kind of start expecting a lot of the same kinds of things.
Yeah, because they're not going to like fundamentally change the math or like change the engine that everything works with.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the classes are relatively fun and interesting
I
by
think so too. I'm
themselves.
genuinely hyped for Necromancer. That is a class that looks like super fun.
Though I think Paizo's are gonna fumble again because they released or are going to release a new playtest for two more classes.
Oh yeah, true.
It was the Daredevil and something else
Uh,
on our Discord.
I want to say Slayer, but that can't be right.
Oh no, you're right. It is the Slayer.
Oh, there we go.
And I'm sure the Daredevil has interesting mechanics or whatever, but that just doesn't sound like a fantasy class I would be interested in on the surface. It also just sounds like swashbuckler, but again.
That's where my concern is because like it's something that appeals to me because I really adore that character type, but like my immediate concern is we already have that. Like, what is going to be fundamentally different?
Yeah. And
I
like I
imagine
said,
it will be, but there's going to
yeah,
be some cool shit it's going to have. But like, what is that difference going to be?
exactly. And Slayer is an old but gold class that, you know, it was in Pathfinder First Edition. It was the hybrid between fighter and ranger. And so I'm sure there's people out there who are going to like it, but again, like, Pathfinder 2E doesn't have the same kind of design structure, so having that kind of midway class doesn't make a lot of sense.
I imagine, like, just from some of the stuff we've seen with Paizo, I wouldn't be surprised if they, the Slayer is not exactly what it was in, like, first
Yeah.
edition. And it's changed because they've talked about, like, there are just some classes that, when you pick them and like want to design them for 2e, the question is like, all right, what style do we go for? Because there's like multiple ways you can express and play certain classes. So which is the one that you pick to be like the true one? So I know that was a class that was a concern with one of their classes they were working on.
Yeah. I'm looking at some of the stuff, and yeah, Slayer does what you would expect. It has Slayer has a lot more of the kind of like uh predator style of play. Like it's all about killing people, claiming trophies, and it's just a very aggressive, like hunt you down type class. And Daredevil just looks like a variant of Swashbuckler that has some slightly different mechanics. Like they don't have panache, they have adrenaline as their major feature.
Okay. Yeah, because I wonder what it's gonna do. Because my thought is just like panache, but they named it something different.
Yeah, well, I guess adrenaline gives a lot of your actions the risky traits, making them stronger, but also giving them the chance of they either just straight up deal damage to you as well, or they deal damage to you based on a failed saving throw.
Hmm.
Which sounds interesting. But so here's the problem, right? I trust Paizo's design. I think every class that they've been playing has been fun and interesting, and mechanically are those things. But I think where Paizo's really been dropping the ball is just market appeal for their classes.
Yeah, like there hasn't been. I'm trying to think. Like, what was the last like insanely hyped class that was coming out?
I mean, I would say it was the. Oh, God, it's been a while since I played Pathfinder. Uh, bu- 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 Exemplar.
Hmm.
I think Exemplar is cool, and Exemplar is one of those kind of names. Though Exemplar doesn't really isn't in truth exactly like how you would imagine an Exemplar just by the name is, but it's the demigod class, and it's kind of
Yeah,
interesting. And I like the building of your story in that. Like that class, looking into it, kind of hyped.
I do think Exemplar is very well designed.
Animist was very whatever. Like you're a spirit channeler type person, which there isn't really a class that's specifically that. So like I could have like that was a pretty passable class in my opinion. Something that's like, oh, that's interesting. Theme wise, maybe not something I'm super interested in, but I could get behind it. Uh, but it wasn't necessarily that exciting either. And then they released the Guardian class and the uh
Champion. No,
no
Commander. Commander.
Commander.
Starts with a C.
And those two in a fantasy game, like I can understand what a guardian is, and so I could be like, oh, that could be interesting, but it doesn't scream anything name wise. And commander, like you again, it's like I understand what a commander is and everything like that, but like here's the problem, and here's the thing I think with fantasy games that really needs to be considered as well. Like if you're not gonna put in another like mainstay in fantasy, right, like wizard or barbarian or something that people know and they understand intuitively, and it's like something that people can be excited of because they like playing a wizard in another game or playing a barbarian in another game. You have to ask yourself, when someone looks at this, are they going to be interested in playing it? And I feel like Paizo was doing really well with that for a while. And then there was just a point where a lot of their stuff is like, okay, I'm going to play a Guardian. And it's like, okay, but that also just sounds like a fighter subtype, you know? Or I'm going to play a Guardian. Isn't that kind of just like a non-religious champion?
Yeah, because like the only one I will push on is which granted it's not like general audience stuff, but I think if you're a lot of like tactics head stuff. Because champion or commander fulfills a thing I see a lot in like other RPGs where there's a lot of times a tactician type character.
Mhm.
So like that one I understand. If anything, naming it the tactician maybe, but like
Maybe, yeah, but
uh, the tactician character I agree on. Like that one I think is a very specific
yeah.
like class idea, but like Guardian, yeah, it's just okay, dude, you go tank build for your fighter or your champion, but you're not like worshiping a god. Because like there's just a lot of general stuff. Necromancer, I at least think is I do think Runesmith is also really cool. I think both of those classes are really fun.
Yeah, I think Necromancer's like a mainstay, right? It's just something that
Yeah,
people like and they're going to be drawn towards. So I think that one is going to be really good. Um and Runesmith as well sounds cool. People like runes. It's just a thing. So that one also sounds cool to me. And
there's just a lot of fantasy stuff where like dwarven rune magic is a thing.
right,
Um, and like it's the person who's like a fan of Warhammer stuff, because that's like a main thing. When I hear Runesmith, I'm like, oh, that's literally Warhammer Fantasy.
right. And so I don't know. It's just like after the or right before the Wrath of the Righteous. No, that's a game. So it shows how disconnected I've been with Pathfinder as of late. What's that book?
I don't even remember.
It was. Oh damn it! It's not on the current notes. Anyway, the religious
War
book.
of the Immortals.
War of the Immortals. There it is. After War of the Immortals, or before War of the Immortals, everything was kind of like coasting. It was feeling pretty good. But around War of the Immortals, I noticed a very keen drop off in general in Pathfinder, which is crazy because it's like okay, Exemplar sounds cool. The name might be a little misleading, but not by much. Like I don't know, when I imagine an Exemplar, I think I'm like a Crusader type person or something, like I'm that's just what the name invokes in my mind, even though I know the word exemplar doesn't inherently have crusade. Exemplar just means a person or thing serving as a typical example of an excellent model. But like exemplar, it just sounds like Templar. It just has that vibe of a word. But
Yeah, like it is for what the class is designed around, where it's building your story, and like a lot of the story stuff is framed as being an example, like being like a shining figure of
I
note.
wouldn't say so. You're not
That's what a
really.
lot of the stuff is like talking about.
Not really. I wouldn't say it's about being an example. It's more about your heroic feats in telling your tale. That's what it's all about. That's its theme.
I don't know. I picture a lot of like the tale stuff like almost through the perspective of it's someone else telling the story of your character after they're gone. And like
Sure.
and I think that's a fun vibe for a class, cuz like the building your
Yeah.
story is just so sick.
I like it.
Um
I guess they just
but,
couldn't call
yeah.
the class demigod.
Yeah, cuz like I think that immediately implies like a power disparity thing.
Yeah.
Where if I saw a class called demigod, I'd be like, "Oh fuck, that's going to be a problem, isn't it?" Which I mean, exemplar is already very strong.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, like, but whatever, right? The class is cool. It's interesting. Animist, honestly, I just don't think people were asking for another caster. I'm gonna be real, or at least another caster that isn't really that unique. Like Necromancer sounds interesting because of it even though Necromancer is gonna behave more like someone who summons totems than actual undead creatures, but that's just that's just the thing.
Yeah, it's the like I mean it's the CRPG, or not CRPG, the ARPG idea of a necromancer that I immediately think of, which is just like it's another word for summoner. They
Yeah,
just summon a lot because I mean there's some variance when you go to Diablo, but like that's also what Diablo necromancers do. Uh, and like then it's just totem stuff, which I think the totems work really cool. Animist is a class where I can look at it and be like, I like the I like the vibe, like I like the concept. My
right.
my biggest issue with Animist is weirdly how like nice it is. Cause
Yeah,
like I want to play a spooky, creepy like ghost character. Like, I want to play a character who has like terrifying stuff. And there's one spooky ghost that you can have.
yeah,
And it's cool, but like the other one is like I don't want to be ocean themed. I don't want to be like nature themed. And they're all like, oh, it's this nice, pleasant spirit that hangs out with you. Or like, oh, this is an ancient spirit. It's like, no, man, I want more spooky stuff. I want to be creepy and weird.
yeah. Like honestly, they could have just called it Spirit Channeler, and it probably would have been just more interesting.
Yeah,
But it's supposed to be like you're asking for like the spirits of the land type deal, and like I know it's not inherently all about that, but that's kind of the vibe they really went for a lot of their stuff.
yeah. Like, but other than that, like I think how the spell sheet works for Animist is interesting. It is. I still stand by my initial take, which is that Animist is a very cool class that I don't intend on playing. It's a class that
Yeah,
I look at and I'm like, if someone else played Animist, I think I'd enjoy it. I'd enjoy seeing what they can do, but I can't say I'd really care.
yeah. But at the end of the day, right? People are gonna like these things or not like these things for whatever reasons, be it petty or not. It the only thing I can honestly say is that for whatever reason, Pathfinder 2e content has just plummeted, and the only thing I could really point to is just the classes do feel like they're missing some wow factor that's drawing people in, you know. And I feel
Mhm.
like Slayer and Daredevil are going to be like, okay, but what do these classes do differently than what you can already do? That's the question. It's not, oh, I want to play a Slayer. It's gonna be really cool. It's just like, what's a Slayer different than a fighter or ranger? You know,
Yeah,
what's a
yeah.
Daredevil? Like literally, what's Daredevil different than Swashbuckler? That was my initial thought, and everyone's thought the second they hear Daredevil, because that's literally the idea of what a Swashbuckler was really supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I imagine it's just that thing where it's like, I imagine it'll be cool. It like just with the consistency, but like sometimes I think there's a hurdle people you go down when you're making a game, and it's like making everything too balanced and tight. Uh,
Yeah,
because like it's why I'm a big believer in if you want to balance your stuff, historically, games have been healthier when buffs and balances are based around raising everything to a strength point rather than uh, feeling like it's limited. Because like Pathfinder stuff, I love. It's a great like designed engine, but everything does kind of operate samey, like math wise and like mechanic wise. Like casters have different ways of doing it, but every caster kind of feels the same.
yeah.
Like I mean, it's the reason we endlessly gush about Anima. It's just Anima is a game that mechanically feels different based on what you're opting into gameplay wise. And like, I don't feel like I'm opting into gameplay when I pick a class. I feel like I'm
Uh,
filling a role
I
more
don't
than
know. I
anything.
mean, When I'm playing like an investigator, I feel like I'm really going to be playing an investigator. They have so many class features; they're just dedicated to what that role is about. And same thing with Swashbuckler. Like when I play Swashbuckler, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna mainly just be attacking. I'm gonna be trying to trip people or trying to goad people or do all those kinds of things. Alchemist plays very differently than any other class, so
Alchemist, I will say, is the one that plays most different, but the way I reductively describe them is they're an item wizard. The item, like the items and crafting tables, that's their spell sheet. Uh, but like
I disagree. But
that's the reductive definition of what they are. Like intentionally downplaying their shit. But I don't know, because I didn't get that feeling with Swashbuckler. I think Swashbuckler's super fun, but when I was playing them, I got the vibe of I feel like I'm playing a rogue with less skills.
I
And
can
not
see
even
that.
that's a bad thing, because like it's more of the difference of I feel like I'm opting into certain gameplay is more of like I am focusing on different skills and stats. I have things that make these skills better. But meanwhile with Anima, there's the difference of like I'm opting into how to like fully summon. Like that is a
Yeah.
unique mechanic that's other people cannot get access to. Other people can do trip attacks, other people can do acrobatics and
Yeah.
athletics. Like that's where I think a difference is.
Yeah, I mean that's I think a fair point. Is like Swashbuckler motivates you to do these things, but it's not unique necessarily to Swashbuckler.
I can
And
make a fighter that does the same showboatiness of a swashbuckler. It'll just run a little differently and like in the way I'm incentivized to run it.
yeah, well, and what makes it worse and is like fighter can just be a better Swashbuckler if they just take certain archetypes. Like you want to be the oh goodness, the Swashbuckler that's really good at like tripping people.
I want
The
I think it's a rogue one because I'm in the rogue head.
gymnast.
I
Well,
think that's gymnast. I was thinking of like my first thought was the bully. I was like, no, there's a thing that's similar to that for rogue.
well, they have not quite, but similar type thing. But yeah, so gymnast, like one of the more popular ones. Why? Because it makes you really good at grappling people, moving them, tripping them, doing whatever. If you just play a fighter and then you go the Mauler dedication, as long as you're using a two-handed weapon, you hit someone with your weapon and then they get knocked down with the knockdown.
Yep.
And actually, I think fighter already has knockdown just in their feeds. And it's based off of hitting the people. And you know who's really good at hitting people? Fighter.
Yeah, exactly. Like the difference I think in some aspects like that with what Pathfinder is doing is there are certain times the decision you're making is having like a wider amounts of things around a skill or concept, while another option is like, well, the math will be a little better in your favor here, but you don't get to do as many different things. Because like fighter can knock people down, they don't have as many, I guess, they don't have as many skills or perks around the idea of knocking someone down as Swashbuckler would.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why you take the archetype Mauler, which has a
Yeah.
lot of abilities about knocking people down. So
Which, if you're playing a fighter and you're using a two-handed weapon, yeah, Mauler is an auto take. It's just it's
I
that
wouldn't say
good.
that, but it's really good.
I have yet to have a fighter with two hands on a weapon where I'm like, damn, I shouldn't take Mauler.
That's fair. Because it's just good, you know. It's one of those things that like I get it for sure, right? And it's kind of sad to see because in some ways the D&D people were kind of right. Because Pathfinder I still think is a better game in every way.
I think so too.
But in D&D there's just, especially with how multi-classing works and everything, there's just some kinds of builds and some kinds of things you could do where you could do some really, really fun things and have some really like knockout style builds, you know. Granted, there are also builds that just are dog shit and don't do anything in some classes that are just pretty bad. But you can make some very fun things in D&D if you fiddle around with things enough.
Yeah, I still posit that like Blade Dancer is just a very cool concept for like a class archetype, basically. Like and having played one, like Blade Dancer is really fun to just slot. Blade Singer, it's really fun to just slot in. Like I still think a surprisingly fun multi-class I did was Blade Singer Paladin. Like I just took 3 levels to get Blade Singer, and then I did the rest in Paladin. And like some of the later subclasses, because of just good old power creep, are really fun too. Like Forge Cleric, I think, is the coolest cleric. I'm gonna be honest. And then like Order of the Watcher Paladin is super sick.
But D&D is not a balanced game, and thus you can have cool things because other things suck, and that's kind of the problem. Because Pathfinder, nothing really sucks, honestly. Everything is pretty good, all things considered. It's just about like finding something that really works for you. And there are some classes that do really change the formula up. Like I think Alchemist is very unique, especially compared to, or especially like Summoner. Summoner also plays very differently. But and champion, you feel the difference of having a champion on the battlefield versus not. Really good. And then some of them just don't feel like they do anything that unique at all. You know, like Druid's best mechanic that makes it different than other casters is it has access to animal companions, but you could just get an archetype to do that with any other class. So what? You know,
like I think the coolest thing you can do with some of the classes is just there's some really fun variant ways you can take them, because like with Druid, it's something I think Paizo is genuinely good at, is they're good at making it so you have a loose idea of like what a class could be, and they give you a method of doing it. Because I think the Wildfire Druid is so cool of a concept.
Yeah, I agree.
And same with the Eidolons for Summoner, because you can play a more kind of traditional Summoner, but like I'm still really proud of the build I made. That is just can I make Talion from the Shadow of Mordor? And yes, you can. Having like a ghost that is fighting with you, like in tandem, is really easy. And there's elements like that that I believe Pathfinder is very good at.
Yeah.
It's just like it's that thing of I could make this Eidolon, the summoner that plays like a monk but worse. But it's really cool.
Yeah.
But monk is just the better option.
Yeah. So, you know, we got a huge tangent and a strange one at that for just kind of bashing on Pathfinder for the last like 20 minutes. Which is the opposite of what we normally do. Normally we tangent about how bad D&D is for 20 minutes.
Yeah, we have to change it up. We have to kind of do revisionism for a game we shat on in very loose quotes. Because we didn't really shit on it, but we were very much like, this is probably not for us.
Yeah. You know, let's talk about Legend of the Mist, shall we? So I decided, because we're going to have a bunch of people missing over the next few weeks, to take a little break from our anima game. We are at a convenient stopping point and try a rules light game, you know. I've played a variety of rules light games before. I've played Blades in the Dark. I've played Monster of the Week. I think I played another one, but I can't honestly remember. And so I was like, okay, Legend in the Mist sounds interesting. It's a tag-based narrative game. And I'm like, I like tags. I like tags in games. I think what this game has something interesting. But we talked about it before, and the idea, the images of Legend in the Mist, I mean, if you go to their website, and you open it up. Now, the art is really good, but there's nothing about it that is actually exciting.
it's honestly, it got me rethinking with how, like, after playing the game, because like I love the style, I love the vibe, but when I think about what Legend of the Mist is, where when we were talking about like, because when we were starting about Legend of the Mist, the picture I had in my head was the art, because I think that's such a I think it's a really fun vibe to fantasy. It's a vibe I really think is kind of cool, but the thing is, the game is so open, you could literally play whatever kind of genre you want. It's like, how do you artistically represent that?
Right. Well, and that's the thing, right? Uh, I think generic systems inherently suffer due to a lack of strong theming. Because
Yeah,
it's like, what you can't, it's hard to get excited about the idea of playing the game when you don't know what that looks like.
it's the kind of like, I think in that instance, because if I'm picturing I'm making a game like this, and I have to pick, all right, how do I make something for like the book? My thought is like, okay, let me make something that looks nice, is somewhat still general, so it's not weird and off-putting. Like if I made like if you made a fantasy world that was just insanely weird, like Morrowind level,
Your mic might have
but
cut
like,
out. Oh, there you go.
oh boy, like you got to make something that is like visually interesting without being too weird to be off-putting. Of like, oh, this is like a specific type of game.
Yeah.
Can't go full Morrowind with it. Uh, so like you got to make something that looks cool, that is like, okay, I can play like this, and then once you read it, you can go, oh, wait a second, I can do literally anything.
Yeah. And I think they did that correct. But
It's an issue of the genre. They made a good choice, better than they could have, but it's still a trapping of the type of game it is.
yeah, well, and inherently as well, they went for rustic fantasy. They wanted to do more of like the standard Tolkien-esque, you know, people are just people, typically. There's not too much crazy stuff, but there's also monsters, right? It's like you're in medieval Europe, but also there's a weird goat man in the mountains who can give you your heart's desire in exchange for some part of your soul. You know, that kind of thing. Which is a vibe, and a vibe, honestly, that I kind of fuck with. But I will say the art is well done. It looks good, but it's not exciting. It's not exciting at all. It's on the main website. Guy with bow and sword, woman with staff. Though she looks like she has a quiver. That might be his quiver. It looks like her quiver, though, in the art here. Woman with a staff who's wearing probably a mystic-looking robe. And then little girl. Little girl with a pack that looks like it's full of vegetables. Yeah, that sounds like an exciting character to play right there.
Yeah.
You scroll down and then you see all the stuff, but then they have like some character examples, right? So here's the first character in this list. The apple picker. And it's a girl holding an apple. And then the Red Marshal, the guy we saw before, he actually looks like a character you could play. Then the Wise One, you play an old lady, looks like she's got a pouch full of items. Then Solendel, don't even know what that word is. It's just a lady wearing a fancy robe and holding a rock. Though the Daunt looks kind of cool. Guy,
I really fuck with the Daunt.
yeah, it's that almost like that grimdark fantasy style armor. Got a face on it, you know.
It's very like
He looks like a
Ottoman.
Dark Souls character.
Yeah, it's the specific thing. It's the Ottoman Empire fought specifically with the Sultanate. It was an army that
Yeah.
basically they would kidnap children and raise them as elite soldiers. Janissary. It's a Janissary armor. That's it.
Then there's a hobgoblin bird person looking thing here, the Glint fellow. That guy looks interesting. That's like, okay.
Oh, it's a Spriggan too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Spriggan. And then they have the Golden Cry, like a dragon curious about mortals, and it's a bird looking thing, and it's huge. You can see one of the characters in its claw. That's really cool. I gotta say, Jane, not a great title necessarily, but Jane looks like a badass. So
Yeah, like that is a character that is like
Jane should be up on the main page right now, I think.
I think the way you set up the list, and I think they're kind of doing it, is you have the couple picks that are appealing to people when they're paging through. Because you have the person, because there are just a number of people who they want to play like some young person going on an adventure, like an adventure they probably shouldn't be on. I've met a lot of people who like doing that. And then you have the human male fighter.
Right.
It is John Default. You're like, okay. And then you got like, oh, slightly weird, I can be an old woman. Or like, ooh, okay, I can play a cool like magic lady. That's fun. That's also a vibe I go for. Oh wait, that's sick armor. Is that a what the fuck is that guy?
Yeah.
And then you're hit with, oh, by the way, you can play a fucking dragon.
Right.
It's like, what? Huh? Like, I think honestly it should the organization, if you want to hit optimally, should go in scale of like normal to weird, because that's something the system works really well with. Because the idea that you can play weirdness, because we didn't stream it, and I'm not going to be here next week. I imagine you guys are going to stream next week.
Probably, yeah.
My character, when I eventually return for when I can play, I'm a rat.
Talking rat, yeah.
I am a talking rat. I'm 17 inches tall. I have the weaknesses of a rat. But, and like, that's just something I can do. The game allows you really easily to do that. Because, like, the choices you're making are basically little, tiny phrases. Not like full phrases, like three words max. But, like, a talking rat fits in that criteria.
Yeah.
So, having the things be from, you know, pretty normal kind of story to scaling up to weirdness, I think is a good idea for what the vibe they're trying to hit.
Yeah, I just wish that their initial art, I mean, like, it presents the vibe that they wanted to go for, which fair enough. It's just not exciting. And you have to go down and you have to scroll through all these character tiles before you start finding stuff that I find more interesting.
It's still just like, the thought I keep getting is like, I believe the thing tabletop art and a tabletop book should do is get you hyped to play something.
It should. I agree.
How do you do that here? Other than just like, let me make a weird like guy, or like let me make a really cool armor design, but like,
oh no, I think Jane's art is cool, and I'm like, okay, that sounds like something I could do. Jane looks like a better version of what people think the default warrior is than actually like the default warrior guy, essentially. Yeah, he's more like a ranger, but you know.
It's the same thing of like that armor design. Like, I really like the Daunt. I like Daunt is super cool. Like that hops out at me as something I want to do. It's just like, if anything, having more. Because if I show up to this hero tab and I have like, I don't know, maybe another page of like examples, and they go from like just really cool to really weird to really unique, it's fun. This is a game where I struggle to put in the same category as like, oh, my eyes are caught to this class or this character archetype, because that's not really a thing here.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And it's hard because there's not really classes to play. And the thing is, right, so we were kind of bashing on the presentation, not the art, but the presentation. But I'll tell you all right now, since we played Tuesday, I've been so just in this game. I've been playing solo mode, just like sitting on my phone with a dice roller, and I can't stop. I've done it for hours now. It's really fun, actually. I'm also not a solo mode type person, right? I was like, let me try it. I've never done a solo mode. Let me try it. I've been hooked. It's crazy. But for those who don't know, and let's talk about what the game actually is about. Legend in the Mists is a tag-based narrative game, as I said before. There are categories of tags, like based on level of epicness, which is called might in the system. Like there's origin tags, which are like you're a normal person, maybe a slightly more motivated normal person, but a normal person in what you're capable of. And then there's the adventure tags, and these are, you are an adventurer, you are not a normal person, you are above a normal person in capability. If you got into a bar brawl, you would win because no one else would stand a chance. And then there's the mystic or mythic, and that's like, you are the king of a nation. You are the dragon, you know, you are way above and beyond anything else. And the game mechanically represents this because when a character is a tier above the challenge, you're counted as being favored. So it gives you a bonus that it's pretty substantial in this game. And if you're 2 tiers above, then you get twice the benefit, which in this game is insane. It's a 2d6 system, right? So bell curve, we all familiar with the bell curve. The results that you can get are, it's like 7 is the most likely result you're gonna get, and then it's 6 and 8, 9 and 5, you know, so on and so forth. But this game, in typical 2d6 fashion, there's the partial success, which is the 7, 8, 9 range, and then there's 10, 11, 12, which is the success with no problems, and then there's anything less than 7 is bad, you failed completely. And so if you are a tier above the situation, right, you get a +3 to your roll, which moves that bell curve 3 points over, which puts you at a 10. Your average check is going to be a 10 without, you know, anything else. So you're likely to succeed the check with no downsides. Then there's the 2 tiers up, and that gives you a +6. And that puts you all the way at the end where you're just like, failing would be very difficult right now. Now, granted, it's a tag-based game. So you have tags that are beneficial and tags that are negative. When you fight a creature, the DM doesn't roll. So the creature's beneficial tags are essentially negative tags for you. So when you're fighting someone who is a proficient warrior is their tag, right? That's going to remove one of your bonuses from your check. If they are armed to the teeth, that's going to remove another one of your tags, but you also have your own tags. So you might be a proficient warrior and armed to the teeth, and so they kind of counteract each other, which makes sense. That means that you're both the same type of person, you're both on the same level. It's really interesting, but what makes it more interesting are the diversity of the types of tags in the game system and how they layer together to make your character interesting. So let's talk about Alex's talking rat. I think it's a good example because it is definitely shows what your character is good at versus what they're not good at. And I'm going to open up the Foundry because I don't remember all the tags keenly. But so he has under the tag category of uncanny being, he's a talking rat. That's his main tag, right? So whenever a check comes up, we have to ask ourselves, is being a talking rat beneficial in this situation? And funny enough, it comes up more than you think. Mostly, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm a talking rat. You know what a talking rat does? They certainly talk.
They talk. But more importantly, they put people at ease because they're just a talking rat. It's hard to be, you know, like being a talking rat cuts the tension in a situation, which can be really good when you're trying to keep people calm. He has the ability to speak to animals. He also has abnormally strong teeth. So, as the talking rat, just from this one tag category, and you get 4 main tags or tag categories. But just in this one, right? So, if he's talking to people, if he's trying to ease them or cut the tension, people might downplay him and not consider him a threat. Talking rat becomes a bonus. Speak to animals. One, this is a game where it's like your character can do what's on their character sheet. So if you don't have talk to animals on your character sheet or some form of it, you can't talk to animals. So not only does this provide a utility, allowing him to talk to animals, but now anytime he talks to animals, he just inherently gets a bonus to the check. And then abnormally strong teeth. You're gonna fight. It's a TTRPG game. So when he bites people, it's gonna hurt. So he's gonna put his abnormally strong teeth.
Yeah, and it is the type of system where I think a real benefit you can get from it is when you pick an idea of your character and you pick a concept like, oh yeah, I'm playing a talking rat. It's good to have those little tags that are essentially what makes me a talking rat. Why am I this? And then once you start going down that path, well, this is a magical thing, and as everyone knows, if there's an animal that can speak human, for some reason they can speak to every single animal.
Yeah, all animals.
And that's just a rule, so you gotta take something like that.
And then we have another tag under skill or trade, thief. So now that adds a dimension already to talking rat. So being a talking rat means he's a rat. He's really small. So if he wants to get into places he's not supposed to, he can. And then if he's stealing something, he adds thief. Or if he's picking a lock, he has master lock picker. But master lock picker is something that's really good for a thief. So when you're stealing something, you're going to add both thief and master lock picker to the check. And then skilled in stealth. Really, really good for a thief. So depending on the check, it might apply at the same time as thief, might not. It depends on what you're doing in the moment. But skilled in stealth is really good with talking rat because you're very small and hard to find. So if you're sneaking in a room, you could apply talking rat and skilled in stealth to the check. And then we have a third category under magic. Transmutation expert, because this rat is also an expert in transmutation, adding a whole nother layer. Anytime he's using magic to change something to another thing, he's going to add a bonus to this check. And this also allows him to change something with magic into another thing. Increased strength. Really good if you're going into combat. So now, in addition to abnormally strong teeth, he can apply increased strength to make his bites more dangerous, essentially. And poison emanation. So now he can just poison people by being near him in a combat scenario. That one's going to be a little bit harder to combo with some of the other ones because the idea is your tags are going towards a specific goal.
I will say the poison emanation thing, one way I have an idea of it is more of a support ability. As I can help say Booter's character by poisoning his stuff.
That's also a thing, true. And to be fair, right, you could just try to poison an enemy to give them a negative tag that, is bad for them.
Yeah.
Plus you can add tags later.
If you're thinking of a rat power, poison I think is one of them. That's what I was also thinking. It's I gotta go with poison.
And then last but not least, we have personality. He's a charming rogue, which works really well with talking rat. The two go hand in hand in a lot of situations. Same time as being charming, being a fun little guy. Probably going to add talking rat and charming rogue to the situation. Great actor. Just a really good utility tag. Might not stack with some of the other ones as well. Depends on the scenario. But
some of it can stack with stealth was my other thought, because there's going to be times where I'm going to have to pretend to be just a rat.
That's true. And see, that's, again, then you get talking rat skilled in stealth, and great actor all in one. And likable vibe. Again, pairs perfectly with talking rat, charming rogue, and now a likable vibe, meaning he's really, really good at being friendly with people. And one of the things I really like in this game is, so every character has a weakness, and they can add the weakness to the check. So for instance, our talking rat here is 7 inches tall. Not very intimidating. So if you're trying to scare someone or intimidate them, that might come up. Me as the GM could add that tag in, but whenever their weaknesses get added, they get an improve. And when they get 3 marks of improvement, they can add another tag to that tag tree. Or they can do a variety of things, a lot of things. But the biggest thing is they can get like unique abilities. And one of the fun things in this game is every tag category, like skill or trade, has a list of special improvements you can pick up that give you additional benefits in a TTRPG sense. Like, let's look up skill or trade here real quick to see what some of their special improvements. Core book. Oh, way too far. So skill or trade. So some of them, one of them is Deft Remedy. So once per session, when you use a tag from this theme and roll a total of 6 or less, you can choose to re-roll the dice and take the new result instead. And that's just that's a TTRPG mechanic. That could be in like any kind of game, right? A once per session re-roll dice. Like, that's not narrative. That's not about interpreting how a thing works. That's just a straight up TTRPG mechanic. Or learn from my mistakes. I actually have this one in my solo game. Once per scene, when you act using tags from this theme and don't succeed, mark improve on this theme. So even if you're not using your weakness, but you're using your skill, but you're, you know, you just fail, which just happens sometimes, you get better at it. You get better at the skill. And that's, again, another like purely mechanical thing. What this game does really, really well is it allows you to build an interesting character. If you want, yes, you could have most of your tags orientated towards being a badass fighter and defeating people. Like, if it comes to fighting, your character is going to win because you just stack all your tags towards that. But it's a TTRPG. It's not all combat, and sometimes, depending on the situation, combat might not even work the same way that it normally would. So it's like, you're really good at combat, but when you climb a cliff, you're going to die because you suck at climbing because you have no tags that are beneficial in that situation whatsoever.
Is the kind of game where, like, I think the strength comes into, because I built this, and as we've kind of discussed, there's just a lot of combos I have, which I can tell you, I didn't like go into planning for. The only thought in my head was I am playing a rat. And so what rat powers would I have, and what makes me a cool adventuring rat? And it's the, like, the things find cohesion when you're trying to play a believable character. And it's like, I am describing what my powers are and, like, just who I am. And if you're trying to make something cohesive, people, a lot of the times, are pretty cohesive, and there is skill bleed in stuff. It's like, yeah, like, this thing is also applicable to this thing because just, it's something, it's how I live my life. It's like, picture going through the game in that aspect of trying to make a person in the world. I think just, you'll find something strong there.
Yeah, and one of the problems, and this was just something that came up when we were making characters, if you become too insistent on like a thing your character can do, like I'm a magic character or whatever, you start finding that in practice you can't do as much as you would like. And you find that in actuality your character becomes pretty bland when you kind of like try to min-max in a sense in this game. And that's because at the end of the day, characters are more interesting when they have layers of complexity to everything. And like our talking rat friend here, we have elements of being a rat and being magic. Like magic rat is one category, being a thief, and being charming.
Yeah, the line I made to help me make some decisions was like of the different categories, what did my guy have before becoming a talking rat, and what did he get after being a talking rat?
The game also
making that line
provides questions that can help you add tags. And the great thing about this game is that the tags are not just skills. This talking rat had mostly just Barney, the talking rat, just had mostly skill related tags. But you can have tags related to experiences, things that you've done. You know, like spent time in prison could be a tag. And you never know when that might come up because that's like a whole set of experiences, right? And then this game also has a like linear versus broad tag mechanics. So if your tag is very broad, like wizard, right? I'm a wizard, so I can use all magic, or I can do magical things, right? The game requires that you spend a round preparing if you have a broad tag. So the wizard will need to essentially make a magic check in one round to see if the spell even works. And then in the next round, they'll need to make a check again to see if the spell hits. But if the wizard just has the tag Fireball, they don't need to prepare. This is one of their spells that they've practiced and is a big part of their character. And so they can just blow someone up with a fireball. Now, what this game does poorly is the fact that there's no difference from Fireball, the tag, and I swing my broadsword, the tag. They both will hit an enemy potentially and deal the same amount of damage based on the power of your check. Granted, if you want to catch something on fire, using Fireball could work. And if you want to cut something down, using I swing my broadsword could work. So there are some unique situations where each tag has meaning that other tags might not, but simultaneously there's no like I do a lot of damage with my thing because every damaging tag is the same as any other damaging tag, more or less.
I think it is a thing that this game dodges where that would, I think, be a criticism from some other rules like games that we've had, because how the game is inherently designed is that it is kind of impossible to do everything the same. Everyone is just going to be playing something very specific and unique.
Yeah.
And like the other benefit, I think, having that system and having it be like, oh yeah, you just have one damaging tag, it kind of makes it so you can have characters that are like, oh, I have like other things I can do. My entire personality isn't killing creatures and like enemies. Like, because if you want to play a properly squared up fighter DPS, have a category that is about combat. And then you have 3 others if you're playing something mid-level or like a little stronger. Like, because we start off with 4 different tags, like 2 adventuring tags, 2 origin tags.
Yeah.
Like, you have 3 others. And so now that's something that incentivizes you to have a wide range of abilities. because like you can't have like, oh, I have power strike and knockdown strike. Like you have all these. Like it's not your entire kit. No, man, have a hobby, have a personality.
Yeah, and they become useful in very interesting ways. Uh, and I like the improvement system. I love games that just have constant improvement in them.
Oh
And
my god, that is like the biggest thing. Like literally, that was one of the first things Cam told me when we were setting this up. Was holy fuck, guys, this is a rules light game that has like lengthy character progression. You can
yeah,
play one character for a long period of time.
and what's crazy is, in addition to the improvement points that I mentioned before, there's two other categories of changes your tags can go through. There's abandon, where your character is either failing to or choosing not to follow the goal of the tag. And then there's milestone, where you're getting closer to that goal and thus it might change. And one of the hard things in this game is kind of justifying it changing when, like, talking rat, for instance, right? Changing that to a different type of tag would be kind of weird. But there are ways around it. And actually, one of the improves, funny enough, resets your milestone and abandon notches. So you can prevent your character from changing fundamentally in some ways.
Yeah.
But it's all based on your goals. And I think what this game does really well is when you play it enough, you start understanding like what the goals should be and what like kind of goals you should add, so that the tags will progress at the speed that you want them to.
I have an idea. I have a question about the system.
Sure.
Could I improve Talking Rat into Magic Talking Rat and have more power now? With
Yeah.
like maybe another tag, and then my weakness can be changed to like, I don't know, 19 inches tall.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? You could do stuff like that. And you could also just include Talking Rat as a main tag for like a lot of other things. Like Talking Rat could turn into a prodigious ability or skill. And it's just like, I've been doing this Talking Rat thing for a while, and I've gotten really good at like being a Talking Rat, right? Talking Rat could still be one of your tags in that category, but now you're just like puppy dog eyes, you know, or disarming cuteness could be a new tag that you throw in. You know, like you're taking being a Talking Rat, and now you're improving on your abilities and like mid-maxing it, right? And so you could change the theme of being a Talking Rat to being more than just being a Talking Rat.
See, I'm thinking about it in Scribblenauts terms, where the power up is because you added an adjective. But like the game is just broad enough that you can. I like that it is a game that has that immense amount of progression capability, because you can have this character grow and change as the game goes on. I also love the idea of abandon. I think that is a fun route to take.
Yeah, because what happens when you abandon, right, is you lose everything. The tag changes to something that reflects like what happened when you lost your way, lost your path. And then you get, it only has one tag starting off, and you have to go like from scratch more. But the thing is, right, that could be a power increase in the way of increasing your tag to like the next level. So for instance, there's this character that you get to do a playtest in if you want to like run a demo for this game, or when you buy the game, it's just like the first thing you do in the book. And the kid has like youthful spirit, right? Well, his goal is like don't fall to evil, but if he chooses to let the goat man, you know, steal some of his memories so he can get the herb to heal his mother, and if You leave the peddler to be on your quest, letting them fall to the brigands on the road, but, being mostly concerned about your own problems. And then, like, your mother dies, and that just is like, why'd I even do all this? You could go from Youthful Spirit, which is an origin, it's a personality tag, I believe, to you could go to Vile Killer in Prodigious Ability. Like, life doesn't matter to anymore. I'm just gonna go AWOL. And now you're really good at killing people because, you don't see why any of it matters anymore.
Yeah.
And you don't start off with all the abilities of a Vile Killer. That's just your tag, Vile Killer. When you want to kill people in a disgusting way, then you roll that tag. Your characters can change dramatically. And, like, I mentioned this earlier, but I'm playing a solo game, which is something I never thought I would ever do. The Oracle system in the back of the book is really good. It's invented some crazy things. Let me tell you guys about my about my solo game, because what has happened is crazy. So, I'm playing a character from the setting of Lord of the Mysteries, series I really love. I even invented my own pathway through it, if that means anything to anyone. So I'm playing someone who drank a magic potion, who's become slightly stronger than a human, slightly, like barely noticeably. I gained a superpower. My pathway, I have the sequence 9 Daydreamer of the pathway I have. It lets my character, he has a vivid imagination. If he has experienced it, he can recreate it sense for sense in his mind to eerie detail. This allows him to, my other tag under my Daydreamer sequence is accurate simulation. So his imagination and his, like, how his brain just now naturally views things in his mind, he can create a one for fun, true to reality simulation in his mind. Interesting, right? Could be useful in a lot of situations. Mostly what he uses this tagline for is making a plan. He goes over the plan in his mind, and he gives himself a buff. I got a plan. And that buff, depending on how well I did on the check, could be really good on the upcoming check, but only for the upcoming check that he intends to use that plan for. His next tag was his personality, aspiring occultist. He had passing knowledge of the occult, and the last one was hungry for knowledge. And then the third one was his past. He became a Beyonder. He became this person who's now, like, thrust into the occult world. Based on how it happened in his past, he had a hidden benefactor was one of the tags. Someone gave him this potion and was just like, all right, you want to be a part of the occult world? Here you go. Hope you don't go mad. And then the last tag was no connection. So most time Beyonders in the setting, you're either an official Beyonder, you're a part of an organization that gives you your potion, or you have some, manner of, like, someone gave you the potion, because this is not common knowledge thing, and it's very difficult to do and very expensive. But because some mysterious person, he doesn't even know whom this is, it gives him no backlog. So anyone trying to look into him, there's no connections. He's just someone who appeared out of the blue. And then the last one was, he has a trait, deep insight. So he can look into himself, and he has self-analysis, so he knows when something's wrong with himself. And what was my third one there? I don't use it that often. Also, I've been writing a journal for everything just so I know what's been happening, and it's pretty long. The last one was... Catch mistakes. Okay, if I had more than that. So he can catch his mistakes. So when he does something wrong, he notices, or when he does something wrong the first time, he will notice it right away. So if he does it again, he'll catch those mistakes. A very handy one, honestly, for law checks. Also, what's up, MLX? So, I've been using the Oracle. I haven't decided or chosen anything. All I've done is interpret what the game is telling me. There's an interpretive Oracle in the back that just tells you a thing. So, I roll up. I am like, okay, I'm looking to advance my sequence. I want to go to sequence 8. And in order to do that, I need to get the ingredients for that potion, and I need to know the formula, because if I eat the wrong potion, I'll go mad and turn into a monster. That's the setting. And then technically you also need to digest your potion, but most people don't know about the acting method or digestion. So what I rolled was the High Lord. So I met someone who was either representing judgment, hard choices, authority, or a leader or ruler. So I'm like, okay, I've met a mysterious yet authoritative figure. You know, I met a guy who's hiding his identity, but he speaks in a very authoritative way. He gave me a mission. The mission, which I completely generated with the Oracle, was I needed to find the unseen force behind a local gang leader of a pretty large gang. That was the mission, right? There was some gang has some mysterious force behind them that's helping them. So I was like, okay. Talking about Legend in the Mists. Or Legend in the Mist. I keep fucking the name up. So I was like, okay. So what do I do? How do I approach this situation? I asked the Oracle, okay, do they run a protection racket? And it's a yes or no. You roll the dice and it tells you, you know, based on your result. And I got a yes. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go and I'm going to try to find one of these guys here. I'm looking at my tags though, and I'm realizing something. I don't have a lot of tags for like getting into places, subterfuge, or even talking to people. My character has a really good imagination. He likes the occult. He's very insightful and has, you know, deep analysis on himself. And he has a mysterious past. So I'm like, shit, what do I do? What do I do when I find these people? So I came up with the idea of, all right, I'm going to try to spook these guys. I'm going to like mention a bunch of weird things. Like, isn't it weird that your boss is doing something really strange, or hasn't some strange things been going on? And I did that really well. I got some really good checks. I applied the aspiring cultist and the passing knowledge to spook these guys, and I got some decent checks. And I because I did well, they're like, oh yeah, things have been really weird lately, you know. I don't know what to do. And so I was like, okay, first guy I talked to, I was like, go tell your boss that someone is trying to like sell mystic items. Maybe I can fish for some information, you know. The guy left, and then I went to the place and I hit the Oracle. I was like, does the gang leader send someone to talk to me? And I gave that check a bonus because I gave a lead and someone was helping me, and I did terribly on that check. So the boss didn't send anyone. And I was like, fuck, what do I do now? So I went and I talked to another person, scared that person also successfully. I'd done it before, so I caught my mistake. So I added that tag to the check. And then I'm like, okay, let me help you. You're in a really bad spot. Let me help you. You know, some really bad things are going on. I'll help you, but only if you help me. I'm going to create a distraction, and you sneak into the secret room in your boss's lair, and you find out what's behind there. And then I went and talked to the authoritative figure. I was like, hey, can you help me create a distraction? I gave some bonuses to the check because the guy obviously is looking to figure out what's going on, and creating a distraction wasn't difficult for this character. And I got a success. So he's like, cool, I'll create a distraction for you. I'm like, awesome. So I created a distraction. I had the helper as one of the tags, and I had the fact that he was spooked motivating him in this way. And so those 3 tags created a partial success. And I was like, shit. Okay. So there's another oracle in here that's called the consequence oracle. What's the consequences of the check? Because I got a success, but a consequence in addition to this. And the consequence I got was, what was it called? Imperfect execution. So I was like, how does imperfect execution? So did he get only some information or whatever? And under imperfect execution, one of the bonus bits to that was vague or not very definitive. So I'm like, okay. So the guy saw what was in the room, but got such a very partial image of it that I now have to piece together what he saw to like make a decent report. I use my knowledge of the occult and my aspiring occultist, and I gave myself a penalty for vague information. And I got a success, a full success on that one, despite the only up having a +1. So I was like, okay, cool. What did he find? I don't know, right? It's an Oracle game. So I was like, okay, what did he find? And I went to the interpretive Oracle, and I can't remember exactly what one it was, but I think it was like there's a hidden force or something behind it. It's like, okay, so this is pointing to a secret power in the setting, some secret like god or demigod. I'm like, okay, let me roll the creature oracle to see what it is, and I got talking insect, and I was like, what the fuck? So there's in the back of this gang's, in a back room somewhere, there's an altar to a secret god that's like a talkative insect. So I was like, okay, there's a hornet shrine in the back of this thing. So I reported that. The guy's like, okay, this is really good. Here's your potion formula. I added a milestone to advance my sequence, and I did a big thing. So that's interesting, right? That's all fascinating. I don't know in the setting what a shrine to a talking insect represents, because that's just not a thing in Lore of the Mysteries. Not one of the hidden existences I know about anyway.
Like, I have never touched a solo RPG, like, in my life. I might have to fuck with this one, because, like, mainly because my thought process is always, all right, how do you do that? Like, because granted, it's you playing by yourself, like, what's stopping you from doing, just cheating, I guess. It's like, well, yourself. But, like, the idea that a lot of this is just arbitrated through, like, tables and, like, random generation like that, it's like, oh, okay. That makes sense. So there's just tables for all this. I like that there's a yes/no table for like clarifying questions.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
Funny enough, one of the missions I ended up doing, I failed. I actually lost because, like, right? It's like, how do I stop myself from winning? Well, you're playing the game, right? So the game generates a challenge for you, which has like some stats that you have to deal with. Much later, funny enough, right, that guy I helped, without any extra persuasion, I got a tag, or I got an interpretive oracle that was like an old friend or an ally. And I was like, the guy I helped came back into the story? What the fuck? So yeah, he came back, but he was being pursued by official Beyonders, and I'm an unofficial, like, apostate mage, essentially. In the scenario. So he came back and he's like, hey, help me or I'm going to sink us both. And I was like, fuck. So I had to like change where I lived and did all this kind of stuff. And he's been hanging out with me ever since. And he is starting to, again, all through Oracle, he is starting to like rally against the protection racket that the gang, his ex gang that he was in, is doing. So he's getting people to like in the area where we live to support us to like fight against the gang essentially. But the gang didn't like this. And so a bunch of them were in a nearby town square roughing up some of the people. And the guy is like, hey, can you go help me? And I don't need to do this. I was like, I guess, right? Like, my character's been doing really well. I beat a lot of missions. I upgraded some of my tags. And now, like, one of my tags is I'm an accomplished Beyonder. I've done a lot of missions and succeeded. So I was like, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. So I go and I go to all these gang members who are just like roughing people up, and one of the oracles was like, they're drunken and disorderly. So they're like not even here necessarily to cause problems, or maybe they are and got drunk at the same time. I don't know. Again, it's the game tells me. So I tried to solve this situation amicably. And one of the things that I did in this scene was I used my Beyonder powers to imagine a scenario of how I could get these guys out of here. I succeeded, but I got a consequence for it. So I had this pretty decent buff, but I got a consequence. And I was like, okay, what's the consequence? One of my items was not usable during the encounter, and I had a gun. So I was like, okay, I know what it is. In my simulation I created, I simulated that pulling my gun was going to be really, really bad in this scenario and would not benefit me at all. So that just took my gun out of the scenario. No matter what, can't threaten them with it, can't shoot them with it. Like, my character decided that was not the thing. So I started trying to talk these guys down, but it was a very, very difficult challenge. It didn't work out, and eventually one of their tags was they were ready for a fight. So one of the consequences I kept getting, because I kept not succeeding super well, because I don't have a lot of tags for talking to people, despite my plan bonus I was getting. We eventually had a fight, and they took me out immediately because there was a lot of them, and they beat the shit out of me. So they knocked me unconscious and took my stuff. And that was it. I just failed the scenario. So, like, you can lose in these scenarios, and where it makes sense, you know, like, the outcomes can be obvious. If I had pulled my gun there, I might have died, you know? They might have shot me with my own gun, you know? So, I'm kind of glad I didn't pull my gun at that point. But I had been doing lots of missions. I have one of my ingredients. I'm one ingredient short. I was so close to getting my last ingredient to upgrading my potion, and they just took all my money. And now I have to get all that money back.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna have to try this, actually. I'm gonna, because, like, this sounds sick, and man, that's something. The thing I like about the idea of this, is it sounds really easy to operate. Like, just pretty streamlined as long as you have the book and, like, a dice roller. Oh man, I might fuck with that because, like, at work there's a lot of times where I'm basically on call and I'm just waiting for something bad to happen that I have to go fix. Which, like, hey, perfect time to do a solo RPG.
I mean, yeah, like, the hardest part is interpreting, right?
Yeah.
Because the interpretive oracle, like, I'll read off, I'll send you the book as well. The interpretive oracle. So here's some of the examples. The peasant, hardworking, yearning for more, cycles and repetition, an innocent bystander. Right. So you have to interpret what that means. I met, through the oracle, my benefactor. So what happened? Because by the way, the Black Chalk Gang is the name I gave this gang. I've fucked with them a few times now. I got another mission a little bit later where they were at the pier doing some ritual, but they were surrounded by a fog. And the fog misleads people. Again, all through oracles. I managed to get through the fog. I saw what they were doing. The revelation, because there's a revelation oracle, was like, whatever's happening here is beyond my capabilities of handling. So I was like, shit, okay. So I got out of there. Though, on my way out of there, going through the mystic fog again to get out, because it misleads you, I tripped and scuffed myself, and I got like a wounded condition, and I lost my gun. I've bought 3 guns now at this point in the story, because I keep losing my fucking gun. I lost my gun, which was super annoying because they're very expensive in the setting. So I got out of there, and I told the official Beyonders about it. I wrote a note, a secret note, like, hey, I was down by the pier and I kept getting lost in the weird fog, and I heard some chanting voices. So I left that. I later oracled, did the mandated punishers find them? Yes, but is the result I got. So it's like they stopped the ritual, but the gang members, most of them got away.
Okay.
Also, the guy who gave me, because I joined a Beyonder circle, which is essentially like a group of people who get together who are not official Beyonders, who trade magic items or formulas or whatever with each other. It's a really good resource to have. Which actually, one of my tags evolved into joined a circle. And the guy who gave me the mission initially, he paid me for the mission. But he was, for some reason, I asked, was he upset about this? And the answer was yes. And I was like, interesting. Does he know it was me? And I got a no. Not a yes, but I got a no. So it's like, okay. So he doesn't know I was the one who told the mandated punishers. And I gave a bonus to the check for him to know. Because, like, I was there. It was the mission, right? But that's just how the dice came out. So for some reason, one of the members of the circle I am in was upset that the mandated punishers got involved. I don't know why, but he didn't trace it back to me, which was kind of good. But the gang came up again as they were in the area that I was kind of laying low in after the guy came and messed with me. And okay, so here's the crazy part, right? Let me tell this one story before we continue more. I know there's a lot to talk about. Like, I'm writing a book with this. So what happened was I got another mission to explore a mist in an area near where I live that's misleading people. I'm like, the mist is back. That's so strange. Okay, game. So I started looking around. When I got there, I was like, okay, Gabe, who's the guy the ex-gang member who, from the beginning of the story, right? I was like, okay, Gabe, you're helping me. The second I got there, I did an oracle for how the challenge unfolds. It says the hero is affected first. So when I got there, the mist swallowed me up and I was alone. So I was like, well, fuck, I guess Gabe doesn't help me then in this scenario. Gabe has not helped me once, by the way. I hate this man. So I'm wandering through the mist, and it takes me a good while because I got a time passes consequence on like trying to find my way through the mist. And then I ran into someone. Now, earlier in the story, I was looking for a Beyonder circle, and a guy came up to me. He was a manipulative individual. And he's like, hey, you want to join our circle? And I was like, oh, I don't know. This is very sketchy, but you know what? I'm in the mystic world. Everything's kind of sketchy. I will try. And I went there. And when I got there, I'm like, okay, what's the vibe of this area? And I got the Reaper. So they were going to sacrifice me, is what happened. I went to this cult, and they were going to sacrifice me, and I had to escape. when I was going through the mist in this time, I ran into that guy again in the mist. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, I guess. So, and we were talking, and I oracled, like, well, I made a check first, because I asked him, and I used the yes no oracle, are you guys the one who is doing this? He said no. And I was like, I don't trust that. So I'm going to insight him. So I used some of my skills, and I got a success with no consequence. So I was like, okay, I know if he's lying or not. So I'm going to ask the oracle again, are they responsible? And I got a partial answer, yes, but. So I was like, okay, they're probably not directly related, but they're indirectly related. This fog is probably something to do with them, but not like they're not the ones causing it. And then I was like, okay, so what does this guy want? So I got an oracle. Asked the oracle again, and I got the crossroads, which means he's offering to help. There's some kind of deal here. So he's like, he offers me, do you want to help me with, do we want to form a truce here? Because they were hunting me. Do you want to form a truce here to figure out what's going on? I was like, I guess, sure, why not? So we were going through the mist. We finally get to the center of this mist. And I was like, okay, what do we find? And I got the oracle, lost sheep. So other people who were lost in the mist were here. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? I thought about it. I'm like, I asked the oracle, is the Black Chalk gang here? Thank you, Josek. And I gave a bonus to the check because it's a fog related to what it was before. And I got a very solid yes. And so I was like, okay, so they're here. The fog is meant to draw people in for some kind of sacrificial ritual. So me, the guy who tried to sacrifice me before, and then I asked Oracle as well, were some of his other cult member friends there? They were. So me, the guy who tried to sacrifice me before, and some of his friends were fighting against the Black Chalk gang who is trying to sacrifice us all. I barely won by unloading my gun, as you do, you know. I scratched my gun to get a +3 to the check rather than a +1. So essentially, I was using the rest of my bullets, just blasting into the crowd. I barely succeeded. A pretty difficult check overall. And just as things were starting to be settled, I was like, okay, so how does the mystery unfold? And it says the hero is affected first. And I was like, so the fog swallows me up again? Okay. So I disappear again, get taken by the fog, and I oracled, like, what happens? And it's like, you find a protective figure. And I was like, okay, is this like an official beyond it or something? And then I oracled again. Okay, so what's the vibe of this individual? Who are they? And it's like a ghost from your past. Someone, someone who has an oath. I'm like, it was my benefactor. My benefactor found me and sucked me into the fog. Okay, what's he want? Or what's he about? The next oracle I got was he looked normal. Not relevant, but sure. So he appeared to me wearing standard like people clothes, not anything official or anything. And then I oracled again. He said he was offering me help. I got the crossroads again, so I was like, okay, what are you helping me with? And then I got the defensive one again, but one of its other tags is hidden. So he didn't tell me how he was helping me. He just sent me out of the fog. Just sent me out without telling me why. And so I finished the mission. I stopped the ritual, but I don't know why he did it. That was all through the oracle.
I mean, this is a very handy benefactor this game's given you.
Well, I mean, it's one of my tags.
Yeah, that was like a tag. Bro just keeps showing up and helping you.
Well, he only randomly showed up once. I invoked his tag twice. When the cultists were trying to sacrifice me, I got blocked off. So I was like, shit. Okay, my benefactor probably will help me here. So I scratched that tag to get a +3 to the check. Succeeded. So my benefactor showed up, helped me out. And I think that was maybe that was the only time I invoked my benefactor. I haven't needed to much since. But then you just showed up randomly and took me out of this like mysterious fog.
Yeah, you need to send this to me so I can fulfill my because I imagine it's like a completely open. You can come up with whatever setting and area you want.
Well, yeah, I'm playing Lore of the Mysteries, and that was definitely
Yeah,
not the intent
exactly.
of the system. So,
Because I'm like, man, I can play my Assassin's Creed like style game finally. Because 100%, if I'm doing this, I'm running an assassin.
right.
And I'm gonna play Assassin's Creed. Uh, though the next question is it Assassin's Creed, it like if it took place in a fantasy world, or is it just like do I pick a time period? Probably fantasy world because it's more open. Like I can just do more with the concept.
Yeah, but like, like that's the thing, right? That's why I've been hooked, right? I've just been literally role playing with myself, but in a way that I never thought I would, and I never thought it would be this fun.
Like, because essentially what this is, because like I don't know if you fucked around with it back, like when it was a thing. If you remember, like was it AI Dungeon?
Yeah.
Because it's
Something
essentially
like
it sounds like that, but like the problem is because like I fucked around like a bit with AI Dungeon stuff, just seeing, uh, largely like the thing I had fun doing was like really playing against type of what like a fantasy story is to mess with the AI. And there's a thing you can get when if you're doing that type of role play stuff, where it's all so fucking samey. Like
Yeah.
the language used in those type of bots is just like there's like a way it writes and there's no variation. And like the other thing that's really annoying is if you do anything with like those type of game like AI stuff, there is also like zero strife. The game is trying like the AI bot because they're programmed to affirm whatever you the user are saying. Will make a story with literally zero consequences or stakes.
Yeah.
And it's really boring. So if this is just an engine to do it yourself, then fucking hell yeah. But
Yeah.
I
I
like the
mean,
idea of that. I just don't want to fuck with AI stuff. If not even just like on a moral standpoint or like a principle standpoint, but because it's not good for it, it just kind of sucks as a tool.
yeah. And I mean, to be fair, this game has a little bit of that. Like, sometimes when I roll consequence, I keep getting like the same types of consequences over and over. Like, I lost my gun several times in a row, which felt really annoying.
Honestly, in that case, all you need to do is get when you get an upgrade, be like, I need to get a type of firearm that can't be taken from me.
Right. Yeah. Get a Beyonder gun.
Yeah, something that's like that. That's a fix for that. And then if it's like you lost your gun, it's like a minor setback instead of you have to go buy a new one.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's funny, right? Like, it's funny that it keeps happening. And Josek, so would I say this tag system is easy to use? Coming from a crunchier TTRPG, it seems like too much freedom. I would normally agree with a lot of TTRPGs. Or like, for the, especially for the rules, like, especially like Monster of the Week feels very homogenized. There's not a lot of actual difference. What I think Legend in the Mist does well is it's blending narrative and mechanics in a way that feels really good. So the tag system is, and at the end of the day, right, it's all interpretation. But the tag system is reasonable, right? So when you have a tag that lets you do a thing, you have to genuinely and honestly ask yourself, is this relevant to this scene? And the book mentions something about directly useful and indirectly useful. And if something is indirectly useful, you need to do something to prepare using that tag in order for it to benefit your check. So in this Lore of the Mystery style game that I'm playing, my Beyonder power is I can vividly recreate scenes in my mind and simulate situations so that I can come up with a plan that's very accurate to like how reality will go. That's very vague, right? That just means I could come up with a plan with anything. But that means that my character needs to have a moment in the game where I can accurately do this. If I'm in the middle of a fight and I'm like, okay, I want to create a plan against this guy, I have to genuinely ask myself, is this the time to do that? And if I am doing that, I can still be punched. I can still get a consequence for doing this in the middle of combat. So there are a lot of times I choose not to do that. But if my character gets a moment to themselves to like create a plan, then I can. It makes a very interesting tool that feels mechanically good to use.
Like,
it was something I invented.
I'll say from like my own much more minor experience, because I literally just played the once instead of a bunch of solo play. The thing that really stuck to me is a lot of like rules like games have that kind of issue where you, especially from crunchier play, because that's where both of us come from. I enjoy crunchier game systems. It's more fun.
Yeah, I agree.
And this game feels like finally it is a rules light game where someone can tell you, "Hey, I just want to tell the story without all these rules in the way. I want the dice to like simulate random chance and random things occurring." It feels like that, like as the most pure form of it, because a big issue with rules light is that element of like there's way too much freedom, and with that freedom, it becomes super samey, because like the amount of freedom basically means what you have on your page doesn't actually matter, because you can make it so like this is our experience with Monster of the Week, because essentially you can have it so whatever your top stat is, you're rolling that every single time, and you're making it so like I am always getting the best possible scenario. In this game, in my own experience, there are moments where the way you've built your character, there are scenarios where you're kind of just, you can't do much. Like,
yeah,
the options ahead of you are just like, when you look at your tags, there's like, oh, my character's just not good at this, or they have a weakness built for this. Like, for our game, we were with a caravan, and we were attacked by wolves. And now my character is a talking rat, and he has a weakness that's 17 inches tall. He has a good bite, he can poison, and he has a little knife. And my thought inside of that was, how could I fight these wolves? Well, I could leap off of the caravan and dive onto a wolf and bite them. But I was immediately, hey, I'm a rat, and these are wolves? That sounds like a really easy way for me to get just chomped and killed immediately. And there's elements like that, I think, where this game, with how the story is set up, you can find creative solutions around it. But it's not playing like a tabletop combat would be. Because in my head, if I'm playing this rat in a solo play scenario and I don't have my friends to help me, it sounds like the answer to that situation is to fucking run. Like, get out of there. Or get in a position where I can like go guerrilla with it and take them out one by one. But like, that's the difference, I think. I think this game is built with an engine that lets you like really express your character and express your character with rules that makes it. This game felt crunchier.
Yeah,
That's the other bit. It felt crunchier than like any other rules light game I've tried. Because we've talked about a lot the idea of a narrative crunch game.
yeah,
This felt like that.
yeah.
So I genuinely kind of recommend fucking with this. Even with the demo. Just like trying it and seeing if it's something you'd enjoy. I'll give one big shout out to the core book, just like paging through the beginning of it. I really like this method of teaching you how to play the game, where it starts with a choose your own adventure comic. I really like that as like a let's teach you how to play the game through visual, and like it's almost like you're playing a little self RPG showing you the mechanics, because the mechanics aren't that complicated. But like once you go through this little scenario, it feels like you're set up to play the game.
For the most part, as someone who ran the game, and like I was reading the book for like 3 to 4 hours before we actually played, just to like try to get everything, and I still messed some things up, but it's still a pretty easy system to use once you understand what it's about. And even if you have a lot of tags that are beneficial to you in like a wide variety of situations, right? The dice, you could still roll double ones and that's an auto fail in this game, no matter what you get. In addition to that, like, I would say it would be very difficult to make a character who could do everything well, unless you're using a lot of super broad tags. But if you're playing true to the system, that means that you would need to be doing extra actions in combat, essentially, or even outside of combat. Like in any scenario, you would have to be taking extra actions to set yourself up to make use of all your broad tags, which means you're doing something at half the speed that someone who's proficient at it would be doing it. And that's true to the system. That's not like whether you choose to or not. It's if your tag is broad. So if you ask yourself and say, this can do a lot of different things, you need to take extra actions in order to use it. Like I said, my character has the ability to imagine a plan for any scenario. He can imagine any scenario and accurately simulate it using his magic, essentially. And that has given me some good bonuses, but it's like, one, that bonus usually only applies to one check. Sometimes if I get some prep time, I can set up a plan against another character in a fight. But even when I do that, right? So like, when I was talking to those thugs, I made a plan to fight them when I knew it was not going to go well. And despite that, those skills that I used made a buff that then could be affected by the enemies or consequences. So when I was fighting them for like the few rounds that I was, also thank you, Jude, for the sub. We appreciate you. Some of the consequences was they like dealt damage to me and reduced one of my positive tags. So my plan got reduced. And so that bonus I gained with my very general kind of tags was not as beneficial. And if I was to try to make a plan during the fight again, one, I'm using a turn, not hurting someone to make a plan. But in this game, when you get a buff, you only get the highest version of a buff. You can't necessarily stack buffs. Or when you do stack buffs, they only go to the next level up. So my plan got reduced to 2 from 3. If I made another plan, if I got a 3, it would just become 3. If I got a 2, it would become 3. But if I got a 1, I wouldn't have gotten a benefit because it fills out the status marker. And so the 1 spot would have been filled. And so my plan wouldn't have been much better than what I was already working with, essentially. And so I would have had to do it again, which would have taken another turn, you know. So too much freedom, I don't think, is a problem if you're approaching the game in the way it should be played. Now, I can't speak for people who intentionally choose to play games not as they're intended to be played. And to be fair, you can do that in a crunchier system. The kid who wanted to use mends to mend bones and heal wounds in D&D is a perfect example of that. And what I really like about this system, I think more than anything, is it did something that I feel like not enough games do, which is it gives you that sense of multi-classing by adding multiple different aspects to create one whole that makes it more interesting. The reason why Monster of the Week did not feel nearly as interesting is, one, you have one playbook that you're using at any one time. But two, when you're advancing in your playbook, you're only advancing in what that playbook offers. But in this game, you have 4 avenues of advancement. And that's not even including the fact that you can get items in this game. Like if you buy armor or weapons, they become an item tag that is in your backpack that you can then use. Granted, they can be affected by certain abilities, so you could lose them. But still, like, you have 4 avenues plus whatever you get in your backpack and whatever happens narratively. And as far as like solo system is concerned, like it's really good. Honestly, Booter, if he didn't have to go on his trip, which he just left this morning, he was gonna join me and we were gonna co-op play. And it's fun,
That's
the
fun.
idea that I can co-op a TTRPG with someone.
Yeah, like it's a very cool concept. It's something I'm gonna fuck around with today. I'm going to I've decided I'm going to make a essentially fan Assassin's Creed game if it was set in a fantasy world.
Right.
And maybe stick with its rustic fantasy, but at least like just that general fantasy of elves, dwarves, all that.
Yeah.
But like just see how running a little adventure, I have an idea of a little thought in my head of this character is straight up like he just finished the training and is sent out to like, all right, gonna prove yourself. Here's your target. It's like at a manor. Like, all right, go deal with it.
Yeah, I mean,
and
okay.
see what
Actually,
happens from there.
here's a great opportunity, right? We could Oracle right now here live before we end stream what your mission is.
I have to make a fella, but yeah, actually, I would love to get a run through of this.
Yeah. So, what we would do is we would run first the conflict oracle. So, roll for me 2d6 in whatever way you wish. I've been using a dice roller on my phone.
Yeah, I'm rolling one right now.
And tell me what the two numbers are.
44.
4 and 4. Okay. So.
Literally, the only prompt in my head is their first target is a guy in a mansion.
Well, so here's the thing, though, right? Here, well, let's the Oracle do it. So there's a community or organization. Roll again.
It's always going to be 2d6, right?
Yes.
51. 5-1.
51. So there's a community or organization who's tricking, fooling, infiltrating, or entrancing. So probably someone who's tricking something. Roll again.
Yeah. 4 and a 5.
4, 5, 45. Oh, an important resource. So there's a community organization tricking, fooling, an important resource. Well, if you're tricking or fooling something, it has to be a resource that can be influenced. So the workers, right?
I mean, exploiting the common man. I didn't intend to create the Templars in this, but...
Potentially. But now, okay, let's get the vibe of it. So roll again. We're going to do the interpretive oracle. What's the nature of this, like, manipulation?
It's a 5 and a 3.
5 and a 3. The Dead Knight. Returning old promises or oaths. Undying love. A ghost of the past. So this can be interpreted as there's an organization that's fooling the workers to follow like an old king or something, like someone who maybe lost power a while ago.
My first thought is this like a like, oh fuck, all right, what if this is political and this is like a kingdom that has had maybe a change in the past like 100 years, and maybe the system's better, but there's a group that wants to return to a worse, more exploitative system.
True. I mean, hey, we got that in America.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if this is a Templar thing, that just by the rolls, like, fuck yeah, let's run it.
Yeah, and so now, whom is the target? Right. So roll again.
Yeah. 6 and a 4.
You're not gonna believe this, Alex.
Oh no.
You got the High Lord. Someone who represents judgment, hard choices, authority, a leader or ruler. So your target is an old leader or ruler who's trying to get the people to go back to a prior form of like governmentship.
Okay. Fun.
See, right? and it's interpretive, right? So it's how one would look through these. And I'm good at this because, again, like, it doesn't take me a lot to imagine things. And if you're someone who's not good at interpretation, this will obviously be a lot more difficult. And, you know, that's to say, I don't think Legend of the Mist is necessary for everyone, but that's interesting, right? That's something that Alex nor I would have initially created just off the top of our head. Alex was like, I'm gonna go kill a guy in a manor. What's this about? I don't know. But now there's so much more story about it, right? This guy you're trying to kill is the leader of this organization that is, you know, maybe he's an old duke, someone who had a title that lost his title, something like that. And they're trying to get people to, like, rise up against, like, the democracy of the area, you know, like the elected leader, to go back to more of like a feudal style.
Yeah, I'm already also just like, I'm going to create a fictional place. Like, I'm already named the fella in the actual empire. This is empire, quote unquote. It's a republic now.
Yeah. Well, and actually,
that
what you
is,
could also do is, if you roll again, we can determine the size of the area that's being affected.
Okay. 43.
43. In a bustling area with many people, so a town or city.
Yeah, perfect. Like, I'm picturing, like, this is the capital city of this, like, in this area. And, like, because I'm picturing largely that this story takes place in one spot. Because, hey, Assassin's Creed tale, it's got to be a nice open world, like, one big city. I've from this sussed up that, okay, this is gonna have a lot more political intrigue than I thought, because it takes place in a republic. It turned into a republic maybe like 200 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago. It changed into like an elective democracy, and it used to be a feudal place. And there's still now a contingent of the old guard, like families who descended from that. They're wealthy. However, they would really like to be more wealthy.
Yeah, see? And the Oracle helped you create this very interesting idea that doesn't feel too like I wrote my first novel style.
Yeah.
And it's crazy and it's interesting. And like a lot of it is contextual, right? Like when I ran into Gabe, the ex-gang member, how I got to that was I rolled the conflict and it was like the minion of the main threat. And I'm like, okay, that's the gang, right? And then it says, and then I interpreted it and is the an ally or old friend. And I was like, oh my God, it's the guy I helped, right? Because I got that same one, an ally or old friend, when I met my benefactor, but it wasn't tied to that. So I was like, who else does my character know who I've talked to a bunch of times? And when I rolled like the nature of the person, they were a protective force. So I was like, it's my benefactor, you know? Because who else would it be, right? I could have made up a character for the scene, and that would also be interesting. But that's more work on me to imagine a thing that didn't already exist, you know?
I really hope this is a person who's posted this, but I was curious because I think that this game would be really nice if it had an app of some form, purely as like a digital character sheet. But I'd love it if like the I think it'd be really cool with the way that they say, here's how you set up all this, set it all up. If you could do it in app and like you have a scene, you open it, and then you roll like, all right, let's establish. Like, have a little thing that, like, jot down what you rolled, have it all, like, right in front of you. Instead of, like, tabbing between a book to a dice roller to, like, your notes.
Yeah.
Having just, like, let's reduce the dice roller and the book to like, a program. That would be a very cool little system. Not even saying, like, hey, let's make this a fucking AI roleplay thing, but just to a compendium of, like, the solo game and to have, like, an inventory of your characters. Or even like in-game notes. I think that'd be actually really cool to make.
Yeah, I mean, what I do is I have a dice roller app, I have a note app, and I have the book. And I just flip between the three to do it. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things where I'm having a lot of fun. You know, whether you think that fun is legitimate or not doesn't matter, because I'm having fun. And I'm someone who's done tabletop a lot in life. You know, I played a lot of tabletop. I probably have more hours than most people because I've been fortunate enough to have regular games for most of my life at this point. And despite all that, despite me having a preference for crunchier games, despite me making my own game currently, I've been playing this and it's just been addicting. I want it, like, it's gonna be weird. It's my day off today. I'm not watching the baby, and like it's gonna be hard for me not to sit here on my phone doing doing my solo game with my free time because it's like it's just that fun.
I found there's a web app that is that lets you make characters.
Oh, for Legend of the Mist?
Yeah.
That's a mobile?
It at least has a website. It is called Characters of the Mist.
Fair. Because the hard part is the mobile friendliness of it, but
yeah, I'd have to double check, but it also has a character manager for City of the Mist and Otherscape. So this is straight up all it's meant to be is a character manager. Oh wait, there's a mobile version.
Nice. Okay, I might actually look into that because as much as my notepad, is working for me, it would be convenient if I had something that, was meant for mobile.
Yeah, I apparently the legacy version, because let's see, if this app intended to work on mobile devices, I had to enable desktop mode, and then the one I sent after is mobile. They're planning because they did like a revamp of it and then had to do it again. But that one I sent, the second one, is the one that's helpful for mobile.
Okay.
But yeah, like that'd be cool. I think that just straight up, if this game had like having an app or at least like a really cool thing like TableTalk would do super well for this. Just because like you want to have a really nice, sleek, easy way to store it, because this is a game where like I was planning on just having a Google Doc with my character sheet. Because like I don't think you need the character sheet exactly to play this game. But having like a really easy way to like organize everything is probably the best thing for this game.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was our chat today. We do gotta go. But Legend of the Mist is pretty good. If you're someone who loves narrative type games or loves the narrative of games, and you want a game that has some really good narrative mechanics that really blends, I think, the two aspects together. Like, I'm going to be so for real right now. Whether this is mechanically as satisfying to me as other games, I think is still up in the air, but I don't think I've ever played another game that was this perfectly melded between mechanics and narrative, right? Like, the mechanical play of this game feels good when layered on top of how the narrative comes across. You're using a fireball, you can use it for actions that would like you just ask yourself, is this directly useful? Yes, no. And it works surprisingly really, really well. So, that's just my opinion, but I don't know, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Alex, anything you want to leave us off with before we head out today?
Yeah, if you're a big fan of tabletop lore content, that's what I cover. My channel is Glue Boy. I put out a video today, no, yesterday. It was yesterday, I think. Put it out on the idea of being isekai to the world of darkness and how well would you live in there. Big answer is not well. But if you want to watch that, go check it out. In a few weeks, I'm gonna make a video on Werewolf the Apocalypse. Before going on vacation, so also sub if you want to hear that. But yeah, I'm just in work mode. Got a lot of things to do.
Yeah. As for me, I, despite my mother being in town, it's been a little busy, but honestly, it's just been a lot of board games. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, I could have been making videos, but instead I've been playing a lot of Dwellings of Eldervale, which is a pretty fun game. I think I like Agricola more, but they're two different kind of games at the same time. And then also we got Madara, which is just a nicer, somewhat simpler Gloomhaven that's very like Magic Punk, which is kind of fun. Or Magic Grunge, maybe, is a better way to put it. So yeah, I haven't been making videos, and now I'm addicted to solo play, Legend in the Mist. So, oops. I don't feel bad because honestly, I'm learning a lot about TTRPGs just from this experience, and like, it's crazy to think. It's crazy for me to be like, I can't wait to play more Legend in the Mist. I can't wait to play more of a rules-like game. That's never happened to me before. So, like, it sucks that you're missing next week, Alex, because man, this game's really fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it sounds like I'll get to play a little bit, but yeah, it's just the timing of things.
Yeah.
Because I got 2 weeks of playing until I'm gone.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to. I still gotta get a bunch of things for my trip. I have to get I gotta get a bag because I don't want to have a suitcase. I need to get fucking Europeans not having normal charging outlets. I have to get an adapter for Ireland. Ugh.
Yeah.
Evil shit. Just why isn't every plug like the same? Isn't that a thing the EU cracked down on?
But yeah. But with that, I guess we'll go ahead and say goodbye for now.
See ya.